Hey guys, Rollout here, and welcome back to Builder's Block. I took a little hiatus from the series to get some stuff done. We got showcases and instructions for Trowel and Barricade published, so if you missed those somehow, go check them out. Over the break, my life shifted a little bit. Long story short, I'm happy to announce that my good friend Starscreamer and I are officially roommates. We've been working towards this for a couple years now, and it all just kind of abruptly fell into place over the last month or two, but he's finally moved in, and pretty much anything either of us builds now will be in some part collaborative. He's also going to be filming his own videos in my studio now, so things will probably start looking a little familiar over on his channel. But yeah, it's pretty exciting to have two LEGO Transformer creators under one roof. Of course, if you like what we do here, you can consider supporting Builder's Block on Patreon. I post content just about every day over there, when the show isn't on hiatus at least. Patronage starts at only $1 a month, and anything helps. You can also support the show by liking this video and sharing it with your friends. And now, on with the show. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but over the break I actually overhauled my entire photography setup. I switched out all of the bulbs in my lamps to fresh new ones, and I got a new backdrop. It's a much larger and more rigid piece of material, and it means I can pull the camera back and photograph much larger creations going forward. Now, personally, I think it looks a little bit different, and it's gonna take some getting used to, but like I said, you might not notice a difference. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Over these first few days, I decided to simply document all of the small projects I've been working on during this little hiatus, mostly maintenance and color coordination. I finished up Go Yusha here. I added the one to his chest using a sticker. I color coordinated his shoulders. There was a little bit of gray in there before. They make those brackets in blue. Now those are in place and it looks a lot cleaner, a lot more solid. The white is now properly in his legs, and I actually changed the shield a little bit because it turns out that the pieces I wanted to use don't actually come in yellow, so I had to change the shape, and I think it looks alright. It does mean he holds onto it a little bit differently, but it's not too bad. I did some similar maintenance to Kaisar, just some color coordination. He is now complete as well, and the same goes for Die Mariner, who has some yellow brackets in those front bits, so that looks a whole lot cleaner. Now, he actually has a number 4 on the front here. That is again accomplished with a sticker, but I made a little mistake. See, those stickers come from a sticker sheet that has one of each number 1 through 4 on them, and I only ordered 2 of those. I thought that was enough before I realized that Die Mariner actually has the number 4 3 times on him. 1 on the front, and then 1 on either side of the conning tower. I completely spaced that fact. I only have 2 sticker sheets, and until I get a 3rd one, this guy actually isn't quite complete. As for Die Lander and Die Battles, before I just built one of them and then swapped the guns between them, but I actually went ahead and built a second one so that they can be displayed side by side, and then of course I got the number stickers on either side of these guys as well. They're actually supposed to have one more number on the front, but it's actually a different color. It is a white number on a blue surface, and I couldn't find stickers that I liked enough to capture that detail, so I've decided to omit it for now. Die Dragon is still incomplete. I have not yet attempted to build his wings in full, but once again, I have color coordinated everything I've built so far. The wings on the face are now all white. The fins on the inner part of the wings are now yellow and red, respectively. Same goes for the bottom and the back. It's now all colored appropriately. I still think the bottom here looks a little bit ugly. There's just way too much anti-stud surface here, and hopefully when I move ahead and build the rest of his wings, I can clean that up as well. So in a revealing turn of events, as I was deciding what to do with the new Alpha's color scheme, I wasn't satisfied with the black I added. I decided to go back and cross-reference the Bricklink inventory for the set that I originally built Alpha from. I built the first ever Alpha using parts from only a single set. It was a Crash'em Racers ice-themed set, and in doing that, I realized and perhaps remembered that the original Alpha I've had built has been wrong for quite some time. I don't know if I mentioned it in the original video, but I was missing some of the original pieces when I made that video, and I used some stand-in parts. The original Alpha actually had light blue feet. The crystals were actually trans light blue and not fluorescent blue, and the dome on the back of his arm was actually trans light blue as well. Now, I have since gotten the light blue feet, so I could correct those, but I am still missing the trans light blue parts. I do intend on getting them eventually, but this is more or less what Alpha was supposed to look like. So I used this as inspiration and added this color scheme to the new Alpha. I changed the black elements to gray in his legs, and I don't really like it that much, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that the juxtaposition of the gray and the light blue makes him look really pale and kind of sickly. There's just not enough contrast. Also, I think that the ratios in his body, the single stripe of orange, makes the ratios in his arms look really off. He has way too much orange in his arms now. So, again, in a strange turn of events, I've decided to actually backtrack a whole lot. And I think going forward, I'm actually going to use the darker blue color scheme on Alpha. This is the color scheme he had originally in that first video, and after all this time, I've decided to abandon the classic color scheme and go back to it. I think that the contrast between the gray and the dark blue is much better. I think that the ratios of the orange, he has a single stripe in his chest and a single stripe on each arm. I think that looks really good. And then there's some nice symmetry with his chest and his arms. He has this big, chunky chest piece with the blue head attached to it, and then he has these big chunky blue arms with the crystal pieces attached to those. I think it's just a whole lot more pleasing to look at, again, especially with the new gray legs. And this is what Alpha is going to look like in Synchro Frame as of now. Until further notice. I might lose my mind and change everything again between now and the time I actually decide to make Synchro Frame showcases, but yeah, I think he looks a whole lot better with the rest of the Synchro Frames. So with all of my previous projects and maintenance and whatnot out of the way, let's take a look at the new stuff that I have been building, starting with a project that I have been working on for a couple of weeks now. I'm really passionate about it, and I'm really proud of the way that it's turned out. It's not quite done. I'm still waiting on a couple more Bricklink orders to finish it up, but here is the Matoy Tech from Studio Trigger's feature-length film Promare. I think it's a really striking and a really unique design, and I wanted to do it justice, because there are a couple of LEGO Matoy Techs out there, but both of them, while they look really good, are way too big. The Matoy Tech is tiny. The pilot's legs are supposed to fit inside of the Matoy Tech's legs. It's almost an exosuit or power armor rather than a mecha. And so I wanted to build it as small as I possibly could. Now, there is actually a minifigure torso inside of this. It's not colored properly just yet. I'm still waiting on the pieces to do that. but because of the way the pilot sits inside of it, its legs need to split. So I have brick built the legs instead. So it's not a full minifigure, and you can't take it out of the Matoy-Tech, unfortunately. But it is built around a minifigure body as to be just about minifigure scale, I think. The cage mouth area of this design is supposed to be mostly orange with a little bit of gold. I'm still waiting on those pieces. There's a little bit of gray on top of the head that will be switched out to white. This is a firefighting mecha. It's based on the old feudal Japan firefighters who wore like these pointy headdresses and wielded these giant fans to fend off flames. I think it's just a really, really interesting design. Now, this doesn't actually transform. In the movie, it has kind of a transformation. It starts out as this more generic-looking orange mech that wields this big firefighting spear fan thing. And then it blows off all of its orange armor and combines with that fan to transform into this. But there's a whole lot of anime magic. It mash shifts like crazy, and I didn't even want to bother with that. It has this hook weapon here, which also has a little bit of a transformation. It kind of folds in half and becomes an ice blaster, and that seems feasible enough, but at this scale, I just wanted to build it in two separate parts. So he has this hook weapon, and he also has the blaster version of it as a separate piece. Once again, I am really, really proud of this model. Once I get it actually finished, I'll do another quick update on a future episode of Builder's Block, and then I also plan on doing an individual showcase on this as well. Something else I've been playing around with recently are these relatively new Batman accessory elements. These are crazy. They have so many connection points in such a tight profile, and on paper, they seem like they would be so useful. So I wanted to mess around with them and see if they were as useful as they appeared to be. Right now, I'm thinking they might be a little bit too specialized for their own good. They have some really weird dimensions to them, and while I'm sure that someday I'll be designing a transformation and one or two of these pieces will be perfect for what I need to accomplish, right now I haven't quite been able to make anything work. So maybe they're not quite as useful as I thought they might be. Anyway, of course, I attempted a transformer using a couple of them. Here is what I came up with. It's the side of some kind of vehicle. Here it is from the other side. You can see some of the inner workings. This mostly uses these sort of crankshaft elements. Again, they have so many connections. There's like a holy stud. They have rounded edges. They have this entirely separate bar connection. It's just a crazy, crazy looking piece. Unfortunately, this transformer kind of fell flat. Not only did I only have 4 of these elements, so I couldn't even build a functional model on both sides, but like it's just kind of very obvious and it doesn't look very good. So I decided not to pursue this design any further, but you can start to see the potential of these pieces. I didn't give up here, though. I did want to try a couple more things, incorporating maybe some of the other pieces as well, and I ended up building this mech, which I really like the look of. I'm actually pretty proud of this. It's very detailed looking. It uses, again, a lot of those elements, and I really wanted to incorporate as much silver as I possibly could, because right now these elements only come in silver, which is a really big limitation. I think that if they came in gray or black, I'd have many more ideas for incorporating them into things. Right now, if I want to use these in a transformer, I'm kind of forced to incorporate silver in the color scheme, and that is kind of a challenge. But I do like how this turned out for whatever that is worth. You can see it uses these kind of gun-like elements in the chest. It uses this like triaxle piece for one of the claws. Of course, it uses the buzzsaw for one of the other hands there. It uses those crankshaft pieces in the waist as well as in the legs. And then in the upper arm and in the ankle, it uses possibly the most useful out of any of these parts. It's this extremely tiny element that has like a stud connection and 2 separate bar connections, and I am wholeheartedly expecting to use that in a transformer someday, but we shall see. Again, I just wish it came in more colors. Here it is from the side. You can see it has kind of these dome elements on the back there. It has these fan elements on the shoulders. I imagine this is kind of a lumber mech. It has, of course, the claw for picking up logs. It has the buzzsaw for chopping down trees. It has big turbines on the shoulders for blowing away leaves and debris. And then it has kind of a back-mounted siren, which emits a frequency which scares off birds and squirrels and other wildlife. So once again, I think this is a pretty cool design and a nice exploration of all of these new parts. So my work schedule pretty much mirrors whomever I'm living with at the time, and a new roommate means a new schedule, which I'm still getting used to. I'm basically working graveyard shift these days, so I think I'm gonna have to start recording on Monday night in order to get episodes finished in time for a Tuesday release. We're playing it by ear. We're figuring it out. Special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, especially my leader class patrons, Valraven, Beyond the Brick, and a new recruit, Beta. You guys are so very patient. Until next week, this has been Rollout, signing off.